All right. I'm sitting here with Matthew Thompson, the king of podcasts, talking with so many schoolers who are already successful and succeeding. And I want to start off with what is the biggest game changer that you're seeing, what people are doing right in order to grow and scale their community?
I think getting super specific about who they're serving. I mean, we're here in Germany at Calvin Hollywood School Festival, and that was my big message was just be more specific about who you're trying to serve. I had a community, I made it for everybody. It won the school games, it had over 10k MRR, and it failed because I wasn't specific about who I was trying to serve. And so whenever you take generic advice and apply it to a specific person, it's 10 times more valuable. And therefore the community itself, they're going to have way more things in common, way more camaraderie, which just leads to more fellowship, which leads to a lot more engagement and that really strong sense of belonging, which I think is the most important thing every school community owner is really giving their members.
Nice. I love that. And I think the fellowship specifically is also the name of your new community, which I think is a perfect metaphor, because something that I loved about your old community is the way that you designed the classroom. There's a whole story, a whole theme, and it's one of the best ways that I feel like we can teach something. So do you want to go a little bit deeper on why you chose that theme and how you were using that to give people a transformation?
Yeah, so the community that you're talking about was a community to help people reduce their screen time. There's lots of different things you can do. We're not going to talk about it unless you ask me. But I believe that connecting your community to a theme is really important. So Goose was one of the first people on Skool who I heard talk about this. His theme is Pokemon. So if you look at what he wears, if you look inside his community, everything is Pokemon. The language is Pokemon.
Bro, he looks like a Pokemon.
He's a rare Pokemon. He's a shiny Pokemon card. And so I think whenever you can connect something that people already know with something new, it's a very, very spicy combination. And you see this all the time on YouTube where content creators are, actually I interviewed this amazing guy called Pat DiManio. He's from New York. He is a fitness influencer. He does kettlebells, and he does these Instagram reels where he says, this is the Aragon kettlebell workout. And so immediately, if you're a fan of Lord of the Rings, you're like, dude, Aragon's the man. I want to be like Aragon. It's like, what's this kettlebell workout?
Bro, I think I even saw that where he's like throwing like white sacks and like training to throw Gimli over the...
Yeah, so
like that's what he did.
You're tapping into something that people already know, which is amazing for, you know, making your offer more attractive and reaching people and being more niche and attracting a certain avatar. But I think it goes even deeper because it taps into the power of myth. And so if you think about what a story is an ancient piece of technology that allows you to communicate information in a memorable way. And so before we had microphones and cameras, stories were transmitted from mouth to mouth. And so they were how a culture learned, retained information, how they passed on wisdom, and how they basically like helped their kids not die.
Yes.
Right? And it's much, what's easier to remember? If I tell you like 5 value posts about crops, make sure you don't do this so the crops don't fail. Or if I tell you a story about a foolish young man who forgot to do this one specific thing with his crops, and all of a sudden it led to a dragon coming and destroying the whole village. But it's much easier to remember whenever it's a story. And so I believe every school community owner is in the business of transformation. You're taking people on a transformational journey. And so the oldest transformational journey structure that I know is the hero's journey, which is you start off in an ordinary place and then you go off on an adventure and then you meet people along the way and then you face a big dragon and then you almost die, but then you transform yourself by becoming a hero and then you go back to where you started. And the best modern day version of the hero's journey, in my opinion, is Lord of the Rings. I know you're a Star Wars guy.
Yeah.
Joseph Campbell, the kind of chief architect behind the hero's journey, he basically coached George Lucas, and this became the format for Hollywood movies because it's ingrained in the human brain, because it's the lived human experience. So when you can combine mythical archetypes that are embedded into the human experience along with a movie or a book that everyone knows, and then you add your transformational offer in there. In my case, it was screen time. It could have been anything. It could have been getting shredded. It could have been learning how to knit. Literally could have been anything. But attaching your information and transformation to the ancient piece of technology that is a story, that is a myth. It's just a fun way to get your members more results and to create a culture. Because I love Seth Godin's definition of culture. He says, people like us do things like this. So you're wearing a cape of some description. You have a very specific type of person. And there are people at this event that will look at you and be like, what the heck is this wizard? And there'll be people at this event that say, what the heck is this wizard? And so by the clothes that you yourself are wearing, you're actually filtering the people that are going to be attracted to you. And in a very noisy online space where it's very, very hard to stand out and it's very easy to be boring and invisible, I think borrowing from these tools like stories and trends and myths is probably the smartest thing we could do.
I love that. The specific transformation on making it more actionable and giving people like steps to follow that is easy to remember, because it's so easy to forget one item in a 10 item list, but a story is always something. It's like, oh, okay, what happened next in the story? So very hard to forget something there. Something that every story seems to have in common is the cave, the big like hurtful, painful situation that the hero had to go through that allowed them to then change the world. And I know that you have a somewhat painful story around screens and social media and like the big tech. And if you're open to that, I'd love to share more of your cave story and how that influenced you and the power that you can pull through that in order to think about how can I make sure that other people don't have to go through the same cave.
Cool. So to go back one step to answer your question that I didn't answer the first time, I designed my classroom around the first Lord of the Rings movie. And in the first Lord of the Rings movie, you start off in the Shire, everything's good, and you end up in the cave and everything's terrible and everyone's crying and et cetera, et cetera. And so this is, like I said before, this is the experience we all have as humans. Any change you try to make in your life is a new hero's journey. It doesn't matter how small it is. It doesn't matter how big it is. If I wake up tomorrow and I'm like, oh crap, my teeth are kind of yellow, I'm starting a hero's journey transformation of me getting whiter teeth. And so I start off in my normal world, which is, oh no, my teeth look kind of yellow, but I'm afraid to change because I don't want to spend more time brushing my teeth or doing something weird, but I know I have to. Oh, and then maybe I meet a mentor. I find a dentist online that's like, hey, young one, I can help you get your teeth whiter. And it's really easy and you don't need to use chemicals and blah, blah. I'm like, wow. And then I'm like, no, it's not for me. This is the refusal of the call. No. And then you go on the journey and blah, 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 blah. You get good teeth. And so the important thing I think to highlight at this stage is that the hero's journey includes every single emotion that we feel when we are trying to bring about change in our lives, including the, I'm really excited, no, I don't want to do this, and oh, no, it's really hard and I want to give up. And so when you bake this into your Skool community, you're actually riding the emotional waves that are naturally going through people. When people just join a community or they buy a program or they sign up for a paid community, there is that initial excitement. Immediately afterwards, they're faced with buyer's remorse. Did I make the right decision? Oh no, maybe I shouldn't do this. They literally are ready to refuse the call. And so for me, I live by a value. It's one sentence. It says, be who you needed. And I love Evelyn Weiss. I think she's incredible. And
shout out to Evelyn.
Yeah, and she says this as monetize your personal growth journey. So take all of the lessons that you have naturally experienced in whatever hero's journey you've been on, getting white teeth, learning to dunk a basketball, learning to beat all of your friends in pickleball, like whatever it is, take all of those lessons and turn it into a product, aka a community or a course or a book or a coaching or whatever, and make that your business, because then it's your passion. So my passion is freedom. My passion specifically is to help young men experience freedom from the things in modern society that are holding them down so they can live a life full of purpose, impact, and change the world. That is pretty much what I've been doing since I was 15. Because when I was 15, I was addicted to pornography. I was addicted to video games. I had a suicide attempt because of screen addictions. I saw big problems in my family because of screen addictions, and it led to a lot of problems. And so it was as if in my story, the dragon came when I was a kid and it stole things from me. It killed my father and it came and it burned me, and now I walk around my whole life with no arm, and I'm like, I have vengeance. When I get older, I'm going to destroy this dragon. And so that is my story. From that young age, I knew I had so much passion. Someday I'm going to go and not only slay this dragon for myself, but I'm also going to go and I'm going to make that dragon regret the day that it showed up in my village in the Shire in Ireland, because I'm going to help lead a movement that sets millions of people free. And it's going to be like, oh no, I shouldn't have messed with that guy. Right. So my cave moment was like I just described. It was in the Hero's Journey language, we call it like the all is lost moment. So you can't get more all is lost than trying to take your own life. I mean, that's literally like when people talk about rock bottom, that is literally, there is no bottom underneath that, right? And so, yeah, that was my cave. And, you know, in the screen time adventure or whatever your niche is, usually, this is some magic woo-woo stuff right here, but usually whenever the hero, after all this hype and all this effort and all this energy, you know, gets the sword from the mentor and gets the shield to protect them and gets the courage from their community and their fellowship, and they go into the cave to slay the dragon, they usually discover one thing.
What's that?
That there is no dragon.
Oh,
and that they are the dragon. The thing that all of us usually need to beat, our biggest opponent is usually ourselves. And so with every transformational offer, again, whatever your niche is, helping women get dates, helping students cook delicious meals, the number one opponent that they will run into is themselves, because this is what it means to be human. This is why these stories are so impactful and so inspiring, because they speak to a deep part of us that know that in order to achieve anything, and in order to get any gold, you have to slay a dragon. And sometimes the dragon is external. And very often I like to kind of like Trojan horse people, where it's like, yeah, big tech are coming and they're going to steal your kids. And look, big tech has a lot to answer for. I think they made some very, very poor decisions that have made the world a far worse off place. I could go into this, but I'll put a pin on that. But the reality is, like, corporations and enemies and big tech and whatever you want to call it, demons are always going to do what demons do, whatever your demon is. But ultimately, like, it comes down to our own personal responsibility. And so I'm inspired to help people face those things, because my favorite quote in the world, and Arden is sitting behind the camera here, is the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. And so as a community owner, we are the Gandalf that is trying to pump people up and encourage our members to go into the cave so they can get the treasure. Because when they get the treasure, they have the gold for themselves. In the hero's journey, it's often known as the elixir of life. So you can literally, now you have the elixir of life, you can undo death for yourself. You can undo death for your family back home. And for me, this is the real school games, is undoing death and undoing darkness and bringing light into the world. And now this really sounds like a mythical story. So here we are.
Oh, we're gonna go much deeper into that.
Wow, this is layers. Layers method is here. Okay.
We're gonna like really like leverage the fantasy theme here, because it's such a powerful story. And just on the side note, Star Wars literally used the cave where you find yourself. Right, Luke saw himself, not Darth Vader, but like the mask was him, and he was like most afraid that he's going to turn into the dark side. And
right, but watch this. Ready? Blue cable, red cable, blue lightsaber, red lightsaber. The surface level of like the stories that we tell ourselves is like, oh, this is the bad guy, and what the best stories do is they bring us to the point where the magic trick is revealed, and it's like, oh my goodness, we are the bad guy, or we have the potential to be the bad guy, or the bad guy's my father, or the bad guy's blah, 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 blah. Because it always comes back to this individual journey. It's called the hero's journey. It's a very individualistic story. It's not the community journey. It's not the family journey. It's the hero, like singular, because we are all the main character of our own lives. At least I think we have the obligation to see it that way. And yes, we're all about community, we're all about going on the adventure, but we all have our own hero's journey, and that is the thing that unites us together. And Skool is really cool because it brings everyone together who has the same hero's journey in the one place, so they literally can find their hobbits, they can find their Legolas, they can find their Aragorn, and if you don't know Lord of the Rings, that doesn't mean anything to you, but yeah.
But you should totally watch it.
Yeah, this is ultimately a funnel to try to make Tolkien like have a huge comeback in like book sales and movie sales. Like,
this is
it's a shame Amazon owns it now. It's like the irony: big tech owns Lord of the Rings now. It's like, I don't want to be in a world where Tolkien's owned by Jeff Bezos, but here we are. Shout out to Jeff, by the way.
Indeed. Yeah. Something that I want to highlight, which you put so nicely, is in this hero's journey, we are, as the owner, not necessarily the hero. Yes, we have gone through the journey, but we are ultimately the guides. We are the Gandalf, the Obi-Wan, and helping people go through that. And it's like, hey, I was in a painful situation and I got burnt. And I don't want you to get burnt by the same cave, by the same dragon. And you will face your own caves. You will face multiple caves because there are like layers on layers, because some things like, hey, I want to have whiter teeth, to the point it's like, I'm not sure if I can live like this anymore. And there are multiple transformations within that. And here I want to double down on the progression, because when we are this level 1 or level 2 character and we're trying to fight this big ass dragon, we're gonna just get burned over and over again.
Roasted.
So something that I am thinking is like, what are the early steps that we can take so we can start getting some equipment, getting a better shield, getting a better sword, finding the right companions along the way? What are some, especially if we want to like start the school game and think about how can we make a living out of this, how can we find meaning in this, what are some steps in the early levels on our journey that enable us to continue playing this game for as long as possible, ideally?
Yeah, so you see this in Irish storytelling tradition as well. Like, for 100 or 200 years in Ireland, every single play basically started with, oh, everyone was having dinner, and then suddenly there was a knock at the door. And this stranger appeared at the door, because Ireland is all about the home, and it's the hearth, and it's around the fireplace, and the home is a place of safety. And oh my goodness, why is there a stranger we don't know? Because we know everyone in the community, so a stranger means threat, danger, scary. Ooh, I'm afraid. But it also means, okay, something that might take me out of my... And so you're right, like as community owners, we can play the role of Gandalf, where we knock on someone's door. We say, and we could knock on their door on Instagram. We could knock on their door with an ad. We could knock on their door with a YouTube video. We could knock on their door through an affiliate referral, or through making a connection with someone in school. Like, you could DM me and be like, hey, you ever thought about having white teeth? And I'm like, my hero's journey for white teeth has begun. And so the secret is always, and this is like very basic stuff, but I think people skip the fundamentals, is you have to get your people a quick win. If you can, like, after messaging me and I join your community, if I can look in the mirror that night and be like, damn, those teeth are looking a little whiter already, I'm so much more bought in to the journey itself. If I don't get any wins, then why would I even continue on the journey? And if you want to go super woo-woo, like, there's this thing, I love the book The Alchemist, which is another classic hero's journey. And in that book, they talk about the principle of favorability, which just means beginner's luck. So usually, and you see this in movies, you see this with your own stuff, usually when you start a transformational journey, the universe will conspire to give you a quick win. So Frodo, you know, he leaves the Shire and immediately he bumps into Merry and Pippin, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh my goodness, we can go on this adventure together. I'm not going to be alone. This ring is so cooked, bro. We're going to absolutely save the world. That's a quick win.
Yeah.
And you need the quick win, because literally immediately after the quick win, you get your first challenge. So in the Lord of the Rings stories, they're hanging out with Merry and Pippin. This is amazing. They find some mushrooms. They're like, this is amazing. We love mushrooms. Let's eat mushrooms. Literally, like 0.5 seconds later, the scariest monster they've ever seen in their life comes and tries to kill them. And so without the quick win, if they didn't get the mushrooms and they didn't get the community, Frodo probably would be like, yeah, you know what? I'm good. I'm going back to the Shire. This ring, he just yeets it like into the forest. He's like, Gandalf, you can figure this out yourself. And so I think the most important thing you can do is, what is the minimal viable action that someone can take to get a first win, to experience the transformation that they desire? And so when we were doing the screen time stuff, you know, Didn't do any ads. I didn't do any social media. I just invited people that I know. And I started off with my best friends in the whole wide world. I invited 5 of them in. And I had a very simple 7-day challenge. I asked them to do the 7-day challenge, and then I asked for their feedback. And then the next week, I took another 5 people through it, and then I changed it. And then I had 10 people in it, and I tested this, and I did this 30 times with over 500 people. And you learn very quickly what works and what doesn't work. And we realized the number one thing that gets people the best screen time results that they can implement immediately without any willpower is to make a commitment to not have any screens in their bedroom. So when someone commits to having a screen-free bedroom, and by the way, if you don't do this, you should totally do this. I'm selling the domino right now. Your sleep improves immediately. All of a sudden, you're reading a book for the first time. All of a sudden, you have clarity and headspace, and you wake up and you feel great, and you're not immediately reaching for your phone, and you're like, wow, this Gandalf told me to do one thing, and I already feel amazing. How much more likely is that person to take the next step after having that experience? Much more likely. Yeah. And so I think it's forget about the long videos, forget about all of the value, forget about your PowerPoint slides. If you can literally just get people to take one simple action, and it'll take a long time for you to use your language, synthesize and figure out like what that minimal viable action is. But then once you have it, people get activated like crazy, and then they're bought in and they're invested for the harder parts of the journey that come later. But you have to drip it to them slowly. Yeah. It's like easy, quick wins first before you're in the cave battling the dragon, which plot twist is yourself, like we already joked. I think this is so important, but there's an even deeper layer to this, which is then you should just do this for your entire program. You literally, like a mad scientist in the lab, you're like, okay, what is the second easiest action that someone can take to get the next result? And then you iterate that, and then before you know it, you have, like, we have distilled the whole screen time journey to 5 decisions. Solid. If these people make 5 decisions, they get back 100 hours a month. Bro, it's like a whole summer vacation every year from just doing 5 things.
Crazy.
And when you have that, then you can actually take people on a journey.
I think progressing over that and making sure that we continue to improve it and allowing people to like, okay, how can we make this simpler? How can we remove steps within that process? Because every step has the potential of someone getting lost, getting confused. And even though not everyone who wanders is lost.
Bars! Tolkien bars! Take sucking Bezos!
We ultimately want to make sure that as few people get lost as possible. And something that I noticed is it's very difficult to get lost when you are with other people.
Perfect.
When we get lost, we are always by ourselves. Because if other people are there, same with IRL events, I noticed it's so key to collect people's phones numbers. Because if one person is being left behind, they're getting a call, and then they're like, where did everyone go?
Right.
And then they have like a really bad experience.
Very bad experience.
Like they are potentially in a new city. They don't know where to go. They don't know where the group is. They have no way of reaching them. And then potentially they are in their own cave and having to battle themselves.
All by themselves?
Indeed.
Right, which is the old way. Like if you just look at like courses or you just look at like YouTube or content in general, the old way is like, okay, here's all the tools you need. Good luck, buddy. That dragon's pretty fierce, but like, yeah, hopefully you'll get it. Yes. And they're a level 2 character and they go in, they get absolutely stomped on. Versus like, did you ever play World of Warcraft?
Yeah, a little bit.
Did you ever play RuneScape?
Yeah. Not RuneScape, but World of Warcraft.
Okay, so same principle applies. Like you can go and take on a big boss yourself, get stomped. Or you can go with a whole band and like Leroy Jenkins as a team. And like, yeah, you can take down enemies that are far bigger than you currently have the capacity to take down. And this is the community model. Yeah. It's literally what it's all about.
No, and I think this is also what I think more people need to realize, that no one who is successful and at the top got there by themselves. They all have people around them. They all have teams. They all have collaborators. They all have partners. And by all the people that you've been interviewing across these podcasts, and by the way, I love that you're doing more group podcasts and you're inviting like their partners in there and their collaborators. And it adds so much nuance and context to that.
Yeah.
Because before it can seem like, oh, there's like when we look at Elon Musk, it's like, oh, it's a crazy guy. But like, no, he just has a crazy vision, and that attracts the best people who want to also change the world, who also want to make Earth multiplanetary. And it's not necessarily him. It's just like, he's the wizard that invites all of the best heroes that come together. So in your experience, like, what is the best way to find your Merry and Pippin and Sam and like the Legolas that like tracks over half of the country to just like find your friends and making sure that they're not being kidnapped, because there are things that can happen. And how do we create these crazy strong connections and ultimately come together in a fellowship?
Yeah, so one of the world's biggest problems right now is loneliness. And that trend affects every niche because it affects every single human. Every human is more lonely than they were 50 years ago. That's just a fact. And so for every single school community owner, you are also trying to tackle this huge trend. So how does my pickleball community help people feel less lonely? And it comes back to what I said earlier. I think the most important thing every community owner can offer is a sense of belonging. And a sense of belonging is like a really, really interesting feeling, experience. If you think about it too hard, your brain might melt. Why do I feel like I have a sense of belonging in some places when I'm surrounded by people? And why, whenever I'm surrounded by lots of people, I can feel very, very lonely? What's the difference? Okay, it's not physical, so it must be something else. Is it emotional? Is it spiritual? Is it academic? Is it... I'm not going to give you a solid answer because it's probably a combination of all of those things. And so the sense of belonging comes from being around like-minded people who are interested in the same thing as you, that are going on the same journey. So to answer your question, how do you find your people? It's actually very simple. You just go on the journey.
Yes.
So you meet people on the road, like on the way when you were pursuing this thing. Like pretty much every entrepreneur on the planet started off all by themselves. And then they have a horrible time and it's really difficult and they maybe quit 5 times and they try drop shipping or whatever it is at school. And then finally, some way, they meet another entrepreneur. They meet them at an IRL event. They find out this thing called Skool. And I think like one of the biggest values of, one of the things that made Skool so successful, like pre-Hermosi School Games launch, I think was because it was one of the first times where lots of online entrepreneurs could come together. And I bet... Now, I have no data on this. This is me speaking for myself, not speaking on behalf of the company at all. I bet there was lots of people who paid the $99 a month just to be in that community rather than... Arden is raising his hand. He's saying, that was totally me. You don't even need to be building a community. Yep. The community itself is valuable because, wow, for the first time, I can find some other freaking hobbits. And there's some Legolases in there, and there's people like Evelyn, Weiss, and Calvin who are like kings and queens and further along, and I want to learn from these people and all this sort of stuff. But this sense of belonging is really, really important. And if you look at, okay, so everyone is selling community. Everyone is selling belonging. That's a huge part of the value, possibly the greatest value. Everything else is just a bit of a Trojan horse. It's like, yeah, come in here for white teeth. And it usually always ends up at like a high ticket mastermind where everyone's crying about their dad. It's like the end state of all offers is IRL in a small group weeping about childhood trauma. I literally, like, I saw it in like nearly every single School Games event. Like we started to make a meme about it where it's like, oh, it's getting to like 4 p.m. Now it's time for like people to start asking like the emotional stuff because it just comes out of us because it's who we are. So a sense of belonging is really important. It comes back to, you need to make sure that you pick a specific group of people that can experience that sense of belonging with each other. In my screen time offer, it was like 60-year-old retired people with like a 32-year-old stay-at-home mom and an 18-year-old hustle bro entrepreneur. So while the steps were working, there was no thread to pull them together. Another thing that's really important is, because we're all in the community business, if you're building on Skool, is, and I stole this from Sam, he talks about a community on every surface. So to say that another way, Dan Sullivan, a coach that I love, he says never work alone. And if it's very hard at the beginning stages of your Skool journey, but as much as possible, don't do anything alone. So try not to record a video by yourself. If you can, bring in another person. The reason why I started to add random co-hosts, even like the people who don't even know Skool, like my friend Luke flew over. Well, Luke knows Skool very well, but like Luke flew over with me one time, and I was like, "Hey, do you want to be a co-host?" My friend Steven, who literally just quit his job as a teacher, he's co-hosting like a bunch of like upcoming episodes. Nice. And the reason is because it adds more community into the mix, and because every single person is so lonely, most of the content that they see are talking head videos, and it's just like such a cold, lonely experience to watch that. Whereas if you watch like podcasts where there's like 6 people on a sofa hanging out, laughing, maybe they're drinking, maybe they're smoking weed, maybe they're doing push-ups halfway through, it simulates like hanging out with the boys, right? It simulates hanging out. You know, why do so many people love to watch family vlogs? It's sick, actually. It's because it is a placebo to fill over the hurt that they feel. And so in your community, as much as possible, if you can involve the community in your content, if you can involve other collaborators and make it what it is, show off the community. Don't just make it one guy talking about Lord of the Rings. Try to bring as much people into it as possible, because this communicates from the very beginning, wow, I am part of something that's bigger than individuals. And we all want to be part of something bigger than ourselves. And I think that is what ultimately like triggers in the sense of belonging. So
yeah, I can see that. And especially when you're getting started and you don't have a massive party, there are like 2 people there, or like maybe not even 2 people. And you're trying to do a webinar and no one shows up. And that's like the worst feeling when you're like sitting there. Actually, the worst feeling is like if you're promoting this as a big thing, and then one person shows up and they expect this to be a big party. So it's like, hey, I'm inviting like hundreds of people, and then one person shows up that you have never met, and he's like, where are all the people? So
yeah, but then you're just being dishonest.
Yes,
you know, like you just have to tell the truth. It's like, hey, there's me and like 3 mates in here. Do you want to play Smash Bros with us virtually? Versus like, yo guys, this is the ultimate Smash community on the planet. You're going to get in here. You're going to be playing with the most legendary players. And then they get in and they see me fumbling around with a controller. They're like, this guy doesn't even know how to play. Yes. Whereas if you just position it accurately for what it is, it's like, hey, we don't really know what this is going to be. We know that like Smash is fun. We know that like, let's say it's like Smash Bros for entrepreneurs. Okay. Smash Bros for schoolers is even more interesting. It's like, hey, I know building a community like by yourself in your bedroom can be kind of like lonely. It's like, do you want to like on our lunch break together, like just hop on and just like play Smash? Or you could set up a community called Walking Buddies, where it's like, hey, you want to go for a walk like every single lunchtime and just talk about school? How was your morning? What were you up to? Blah, 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 blah. But don't try to make yourself look better or bigger than you are. Just be honest with people, because you'd be surprised how many people actually want to go on that journey. And there's lots and lots of, if you look at the law of diffusion, which starts with like innovators, early adopters, early majority, late majority, blah, blah, blah. There's loads of people who just love to be part of the start of something. Yeah. And these are your core members. And the people that started off in the Lord of the Rings with the Fellowship weren't the people that made it all the way.
Yeah, true.
You lost some people, like R.I.P. Boromir. And that's okay. You'll lose some of those early people, but they will help you get to the later stage people, which is then where you can achieve growth. So
okay. I really like this because it allows us to start. Something that I've also seen is, instead of trying to gather people around you, is joining another party and joining their community. So when you say never work alone, and in the beginning you are just starting alone, I found it's very difficult to convince someone else to like gather around you, especially if you're like figuring out the controller and you don't really know what you're doing, and we don't know what we don't know, and there are like a million things that like can go wrong. When working for someone else or joining someone else's party, what is some like easy value that we can provide to learn from them, while also making sure that we are contributing something to that party? Because when we think on the Fellowship, there was something that everyone contributed. Legolas had his bow.
You have my sword. You got my axe.
So how can we find something that we can contribute to that party and ultimately make sure that together we are more likely to defeat the dragon without like our sword or our axe?
Yeah, just don't pretend. So the Lord of the Rings example, that scene where they're around the Council of Elrond, and you've got Aragorn, who is just the toppest G of all time, like he's the GOAT, like coming forward, it's like, you have my sword. Then you got Legolas. He's literally like an elf prince who could just like aura farm every time that he fights because he's just so gifted. It's like, he's a badass. Gimli, he's like some sort of dwarf lord. These guys are experienced. They have lots of things to give. And then, at the very end, you have these two little freaking hobbits called Merry and Pippin who literally run in, no weapons, no armor. They're like, we're coming too! And what do they have to bring? I'll ask you that question. What like at that stage, everyone's putting down a sword, all this experience. Oh, I've closed over $10 million of high ticket sales. Boom! This is what I bring to the community. What did Merry and Pippin bring?
They bring themselves.
They brought themselves.
They brought the energy. They brought like the belonging. And when later on, they end up not needing to be rescued at all. Because they are the ones that, from learning from these badasses, were able to absorb that knowledge and actually not just carry their weight, but ultimately do the job for those people who were supposed to do everything.
Yeah, they end up getting these knives all of a sudden. Then they go on a huge quest. Then they end up just becoming these badass warriors. One of them, they end up getting like unbelievable honors by the end. So you just need to be patient.
Yeah.
But they brought themselves. And I think especially when you're young, like if you're a young entrepreneur, I mean by young I just mean like sub 30. I'm 31, so rip me. Arden calls me Unk. People want to support young, ambitious people.
Yeah.
It's just true. Like, if you look at like what a lot of entrepreneurs do, like big entrepreneurs, they do it because they want to give back. And so if Merry and Pippin came to the table and pretended to have all this amazing fighting experience, it actually would repel the big people from even having a desire to help them. The hobbits are the most powerful characters on the chessboard because they're so endearing. Who doesn't want to help a hobbit?
Yeah.
Who would kick a hobbit in the face and tell it to piss off? Whereas if Boromir was coming and anytime he tries to be the big dog, pretty much everyone in the party's like, bro, shut the frig up. Like, who the hell are you? You think you're some big dog? It's like, get up. So there's a proverb that I like in the Hebrew Bible that says, it is better to wait to be invited to the head table than to try to push your way there and to be turned away in shame. And so you don't need to be in a hurry. You don't need to try and lie or deceive people to pretend that you're some sort of cool thing. If you just bring yourself and you offer friendship, and you like the hobbits, they offer energy, they're bubbling excitement, they're making jokes, like they're the life and soul of the party. Like when they end up in the Prancing Pony in the pub, like everyone by the end of it is like, da da, these hobbits are awesome. And like so you can go into environments where you're so inexperienced and you can bring yourself, you can bring your personality, you can bring your energy, you can bring your youthfulness, you can bring your quirks, you can bring your German accent, you can bring your love of Star Wars, you can bring your love of wearing wizard capes, and like you bring something to the party that no one else could bring. If you bring yourself, if you pretend, and if you try to bring someone that's not you, well, not only have you robbed the party of the real treasure, but you also will repel everyone away from you because they're like, who's this guy trying to pretend that he is insert name of big online entrepreneur that dresses in a very slick way that everyone copies?
Oh, no, it's true though. Because like we need to be authentic. Yeah. And if we are trying to pretend someone that we're not, it's like people see that, they notice that. And if I tried to do the Pokemon thing, it's like, I played Pokemon, but I don't have that passion that Goose has it. Like my sister is literally called Leia, and I've been like watching Star Wars.
Bro, don't kiss her. Don't do it. Don't do it, bro.
Not going there, but
I'm seeing how well he handles it. I'm like, let's just throw this out, see how Lucas just. That's cool stories, that's for sure. This is me off the record.
Well, like ultimately, trying to just use the stories that we have and use the passions that we have. And something that you said, and I've heard multiple people copy this, is the purpose of online communities is to bring people offline. And I've run a few events and I know how difficult it is to get people together. So maybe to wrap this up, how can we have these amazing experiences where we are like meeting together, where we're in person, where we are able to meet up? You have run multiple events yourself. You're doing them in freaking castles. Like, how cool is that? Like, how can we get there? How can we make sure that we are invited to those kind of events? How can we make sure that we are able to participate at that deepest community level?
Okay. So you cannot give what you have not already received. So this loops into your previous question as well. When you're a Hobbit and you've got nothing to offer, you probably should not try to build the world's greatest community because you don't know how. The best thing you can do is to experience it for yourself. Join other communities, be a champion inside that community, and you will learn more than you could ever do by trying to work by yourself and grinding 60 hours a week to end up getting 7 people in your community and none of them engage. Far better to spend 60 hours a week offering the little Hobbit thing that you have to another king or another queen. Like, we could talk about masculine journeys, we could talk about archetypes. You know, things I like a lot are like, so the first there's the boy stage, then there's the cowboy stage, then there's the warrior stage, then there's the king stage. Like, if you're a warrior or if you're a warrior, you should just serve a king. This applies to ladies too. If you're in your like warrior stage, I'm thinking about like Patrice Moore. She's a good example of like a
she did that
princess warrior or whatever feminine like, archetype you want.
I'm gonna like get stuff done.
So she just learned from other kings and queens. So I'll not name names, but that's what she did. And so, you know, if you just need to find someone that you vibe with. You could vibe with Evelyn, go all in on Evelyn. You could vibe with Calvin, go all in on Calvin. You could vibe with Max Pearson, go all in on Max Pearson. Like, attach yourself to the guide that you would like to be in the future, because their whole job is to help the younger versions of themselves. And so if you are the younger versions of them, they will be more inclined to help you. And then you can actually learn the things that you need to learn in order to become that person. And so, how do I have a community? Well, first you should join and see how the greats do it. How do I do an online event? Well, first you should go to like 10 online events and see how everyone else does it. And then you should start stupidly small. You shouldn't come to the Skool Festival in Germany with Calvin Hollywood and see 300 people raving around like a Tony Robbins concert and be like, this will be my first event. This should be the first event. Around a picnic table with some crap sandwiches that maybe everyone buys themselves because no one can afford to pay catering or anything like this. And there's, you know, in like, I come from a faith background, and it says, where 2 or 3 people are gathered, God is there among them. And it's just community. It's like, when you're by yourself, you're by yourself. As soon as you have 2 people, the whole energy shifts. Like, the energy is so different, even having Arden standing over there.
Absolutely.
Versus like you and me just talking ourselves, because now there's a third, not it's a crowd, right? 2's company, 3 is a crowd. And so you have to first experience things for yourself, and that is how you learn. One of my favorite things that Max Pearson says is just copy what works, but you can't copy anything if you haven't seen it in the first place. I want to do a really, really like quick deep dive, and I'll jump back up to answer your question. If the biggest thing that we are offering is community, and we do not experience community ourselves in our own lives, you are literally selling people empty glasses with no water inside it. If you are lonely, as a Skool community owner, you're cooked.
Yes.
How can you ever provide community to other people if you have no community yourself? And so I would invite like people listening who are like, oh my gosh, that's me. It's like, you need to go on the hero's journey to go and experience what true community feels like. You talk about all these events that I do. Bro, I've been literally like, I was basically born in a church. I went to like 3 live events every single week for 31 years. Like, high ticket masterminds and retreats is just what the church calls church weekends. And the castle that I booked for this upcoming event with 40 people, I've stayed in there 12 times since I was 12 years old. I know how to do it because I literally have done it. And also in former life, like, I used to host these youth weekends. Like, I've done it. And so when you've done it so many times, like, you know how easy it is to fart out a retreat?
Yes.
Bro, I literally could call 12 people tonight, book an Airbnb here in Germany, and we could have the most epic retreat ever because you've done all of the reps. And that's not a flex. It's not like, oh, look at me, I'm such a goat. It's like, no. It's like, I've already done this, so it's easy for me to do it again. And so how do you bring people together? Well, first, like I said, go and experience it. But then the second thing is just start unbelievably small. Start with people that you know, and you can know them in your community. If there's 4 people in your community, and this is why it's so important to be really specific about who you serve. If no one has any shared interests, it's going to be kind of weird to hang out, to be honest. Then it's just like a weird networking thing. Let's say let's say your offer is
Sailing.
Boat. Yeah, so this is a boat. Perfect. So you can have 10 people in your community about sailing, but if they're all over the world, it's kind of difficult unless they're all ballers and they'll take their private jets to come on someone's yacht. I mean, if you have that access to that, go ahead. Shake what your mama gave you. But if you decided, okay, I'm going to just focus on people who like sailing in London. That's a terrible place because I don't think you can really sail in London, but we'll roll with that anyway. Hey, do you like to sail your yacht down the River Thames, even though it's probably illegal against Crown law? Then you should probably start your Skool community first targeting people in London who like sailing. And then when you want to have a meetup and there's 20 people in your community, it's quite easy to get 5 people if they already live in London and they already like sailing. Let's change the metaphor, like golf. It's like if you have 5 people in your little Irish village who like to play golf, you know how easy it is to go and play a round of golf with these people? So I like specificity. The first business that I built was an extremely that I successfully built, I should say, was a hyper local business. Like I only worked with people in the city of Belfast. Belfast has 330,000 people. I was working with entrepreneurs. Do you know how many entrepreneurs there are in Belfast? Not many. Do you know how quickly and easily you're able to make connections and relationships with all of the entrepreneurs in Belfast? Extremely easy. And so I would start niche. I would start as specific as you possibly can. Lots of people forget about like geographic locations. I interviewed Dave Donahue in LA. He's a guitar teacher on Skool. You know how he won the Skool Games? He put up posters with the QR code in his local village.
Solid.
Bro, the most Hobbit Irish thing I've ever heard in my life. Literally his local Chinese restaurant, the local taxi company. Like 80% of his members are within like a 20-mile radius of his home. Bro, people don't think about niching down to geographic locations. Dude, you're German, right? You're obviously doing the English thing. But for half of the people that are in here who are German community builders, just speaking German is like an unbelievable niche down because instantly you differentiate yourself and you are not competing against the big, massive English-speaking influencers. If you speak an even more niche... I mean, German's quite a niche language. There's not any other places other than South Austria and maybe a couple other places. So yeah, language is a great way to niche down. Geography is a great way to niche down. Age is a great way to niche down. You just go ahead and just like, if you pick male or female, like you instantly niche down by 50% of the world. So I just like, you can always niche back up. But in order to achieve market penetration, it's much, much easier if you actually just have a very specific laser beam to cut through something rather than, I don't know, a flashlight or rather than a floodlight, or maybe to change the metaphor slightly, you know, if you take like if you pour water out of a glass on this table, nothing happens. If you run it through a highly pressurized system and it shoots out a tiny beam of water, you could cut this whole table in half.
Easily. Even if it was stone. Like
even if it was stone, yeah. And so I think that's like, if I was speaking to a younger version of myself, I would encourage him to just niche down much, much, much sooner and start local, start with what you have.
Nice.
Yeah.
I love that. The Gandalf of Skool, telling us how to connect with people, how to have a fellowship, how to like find our wizards to ultimately go on this hero's journey.
Can I give one more thing?
Please.
Because I meant to say this earlier and I think it's really important. You do not have to always be Gandalf. You literally can be, it's a community for fellow hobbits. We call them fellow travelers.
Yeah.
So you don't have to position yourself as an expert ever. You could be a facilitator. And literally, you're not the guru. You're not the Gandalf. You're like, hey, I'm a hobbit too. I'm just trying to figure out how to get white teeth. Should we invite like some goat dentists in here to do a live call with us? Stupid offer, but you know what I mean?
No, you're just facilitating it. It's like, I'm on this journey and like, this is where, Calvin said it on stage. It's like, hey, you are all people that I want to hang out with.
Right.
And I want to figure out how I can give my energy and power to you. So where do you want to go and how can I help you?
Right.
And then that becomes the destination without necessarily having to, because like I wasted a lot of time trying to think what people want and then giving it to them, and then they didn't want it.
No.
And then I spent like months building something that was ultimately a waste of time.
Right.
But as soon as we started talking to people and asking things like, where do you want to go? And
Right.
how can I help you on your journey?
Yeah.
And maybe with some people, we are the Gandalfs. With some people, we are the fellow Hobbits. And with some people, we are the people just celebrating the heroes traveling through the
To the streets, right? So this is great. So tiers are here, okay? So there's like tiers. There's Gandalf.
Yeah. There's
Aragorn and Legolas. We'll just call them the Fellowship, and then there's the Hobbits.
Yeah.
Okay. So you actually like one of the most infuriating experiences you can have is if you go to a premium event. Let's just say like a school games event, and everyone in the room is successful, right? They're all Aragorns and Gimlis and Legolas, and then someone tries to be a Gandalf. Yeah, bro, are you serious? It's like, don't try to. We're not your hobbits.
Yeah.
No, Alex and Sam, we feel like hobbits in their presence, right? Because that's the dynamic of that group. Yeah. They're the Gandalfs that are taking everyone on the journey. And so it's really important to be aware what part of myself is required right now. If I was a 6-year-old boy, you're instantly a Gandalf. You would Gandalf me around this playground and climbing frame, and you would be, that's an appropriate Gandalf. If I was a 60-year-old billionaire and you were starting to try to Gandalf me about my business, it's super weird. So it's important to know who, in which situation, what part of myself am I bringing? Because we are always all three at any given time. Because we are all Gandalf. We all know things that other people don't know. We are all Aragons because we have peers who are at the same level we're at, and then we're also hobbits. And so knowing when to step up and when to step down is really great. And if you're young and inexperienced, I would lean hard on the big hobbit energy. Someone give me this big entrepreneur dude in Belfast gave me some really good advice. He's like, you know what your most valuable asset is? I was like 21. I was like, oh yeah, my ability to connect with people. And like I started listing all of my skills. He was like, shut up. He's like, your greatest asset is that you're young and you're likable. And he said, you will not be young and likable for much longer. He was like, when you turn 30, he's like, no one will want to help you. Not really, right? Not in the same way.
Yeah.
And so actually like falling on the sword and humbling yourself is actually an epic way to be lifted up in honor, because don't ask to be invited at the table. But if, the Lord of the Rings characters were here, let's say like Aragorn's here and Gimli's here, and he sees Frodo sitting over there, what's he going to do? Yo, Frodo, come on over here. And then Frodo is going to feel like an absolute baller in front of all of his Hobbit friends because he was invited.
Yeah.
Versus imagine the shame if Frodo comes over here and tries to sit at the table and Gandalf's like, the Mean Girls moment, you can't sit with us. Sent back to the Hobbit table, humiliating.
Yeah.
And so go slow, don't be in a hurry, you've all the time in the world, be a Hobbit, find your Gandalfs, go on the journey, and then over time you will discover how to successfully walk alongside other people as a Hobbit. Maybe you can level up inside someone else's community to be a bit of a Legolas, where he's like, oh, Lucas has been doing this for a while. You should check out his bow. He's got this really cool technique for shooting things. And then, maybe, just maybe, you will be able to be a Gandalf to people who are earlier on in their journey. If you live by the value, be who you needed when you were younger. And for me, that's what school's all about.
Nice. This position is so key, understanding who is ahead of you and who is a few steps behind us, and making sure how we help others. Because if I try to coach someone who is ahead of me, that's weird. But if I'm offering a service to someone who's ahead of me, it's like, I know you're crazy busy. Let me do the thing that you obviously can do better than me, but I can save you time.
Yeah.
And if you tell me, I will be better. But if I tell you how to do your job, that's just like, bro, like, are you serious?
Right.
So understanding where we are in the position, and then like either bringing that Hobbit energy or the Gimli energy or the Gandalf energy, and understanding the position is so key. So Matthew, I appreciate the storytelling. I love the passion and the energy that you're bringing to school. I'm going to listen to all of the podcasts. I've been going through most of them already. So shout out if you want to really understand the schoolers and maybe find some Gandalfs. Here is someone who has been interviewing most Gandalfs on the platform. So if you're looking for someone, you can get a really good idea what the vibe is. Because the worst thing is if you are trying to like follow a Gandalf that you don't actually like spending time with. So do your research, see if you vibe with them, and then ultimately you can learn from them. So Matthew, do you have any last incredible quotes that you want to share with us? Oh, I'm gonna give you a specific question. If there was only one message, like all of your content is deleted and you can only broadcast one message, what would that be?
Don't bring screens into your bedroom.
Love it.
Yep. Boom!